I know this is quite a weird angle, but as is traditional on some Flosstubes, we're going to start with the best new thing in the world today. I'm still Ros Clark. This is still Ros Clark Craft. This is still mostly a channel about cross stitch and other crafts. But as of yesterday, it's probably also going to be a channel about him. Charlie, come and say hello. There we go. This is Charlie. Charlie is an 8-year-old Lhasa Apso. He was a rescue dog. And as of yesterday, he's come to live with me. Apparently, he's a little bit camera shy. I've got some footage of him out in the garden and on a walk, so I will show you that later. But, so that is the first thing. So somebody sent me this lovely card, Happy New Dog, from her and her dog. Okay, Charlie is just going slightly crazy down here at the moment, scent marking himself on the carpet and the quilt that I've put down there. We've been for a lovely walk this morning. We went over to see my parents and he loved their garden more than anything in the world ever. He's also, and this is a very exciting story that will not mostly be about the dog, but it's all new and exciting. He's not been terribly well loved in the last couple of years. He's very obedient, he's very well brought up, very well trained, but he has been a little bit neglected for the last couple of years. So he's just learning to warm up to people again and affection, and he hasn't really been interested in toys, which just seems so sad. Anyway, I bought him a couple for him to just have a look at. I had 3 that he could look at yesterday and choose if he wanted to, and there was one that he spent a little bit more time with, and you know, it was a squeaky one, and when I made it squeak he quite liked that, but you know, he could sort of take it or leave it. Anyway, I went over to my parents, and unsurprisingly my mother had also bought toys and all kinds of paraphernalia. Anyway, she brought out, again, a range of toys. She bought a ball and a rope toy and a squeaky toy. And he did really, really love that squeaky toy. He was really enjoying playing with it. And we left it there because I'm going for lunch tomorrow, so he can see it again then. But when I got back, he then was playing with the squeaky toy that I got him here. So he's definitely relaxing. He did not sleep in my bed last night. I did not want him sleeping in my bed. He's never been in my bedroom. He doesn't need to know it exists. He sleeps here in his bed or on my sofa. But that's allowed, isn't it? Charlie, that's allowed. Good boy. Good boy. He doesn't really bark, so unless I get kind of strangers attacking the house, you probably won't hear him. He gets a little bit growly and grumbly, mostly if you're trying to wake him up, or if you're trying to put something over his head. He doesn't like that much. But otherwise, he's a very good, very well-behaved dog. Okay. There we go, that's a bit straighter. Good, right, anyway, so let's now move on to what you're actually here for, which is the stitching. So I have a finish and some works in progress to show you and a new start. I have got, and I don't normally do stitchy haul, but I've got a couple of very exciting things that came in the post today that I am going to do little unboxings and show you. And then what is now becoming the traditional Ros's rant, if you followed me on Instagram this week, you'll have an idea what this is going to be about. We're going to have a little rant about racism. So if you're interested in that, stay to the end. If you think you've already heard me rant about that enough on Instagram, that's fine as well. So here is the finish. So I think I showed you last time I was going to do this. I can't remember if I'd even started it. Might be a start and finish. How about that? So this is from Crafty Yams. I definitely put the link to this last time. I haven't ironed it, and as you see, I've not fully finished it in the strongest sense of the term. That is to say, not only have I not made it into anything, I actually reduced the pattern a bit. I only had this scrap of fabric and I thought the colour was perfect, so I wanted to do it on here, but I didn't quite have enough room. I might have just about been able to squeeze it on, but there would have been very, very small margins. So I just reduced the pattern a little bit. These are all motifs from the pattern. And the words say, I haven't got it written down in front of me, Zanzandegi Azadi, I think. And it means women, life, freedom in Farsi, which is the language they speak in Iran. Maybe all of Iran, certainly some of Iran. And so it's designed by an Iranian designer, Mariam, who is based in Australia now. And I've stitched this for a friend of mine who is an Iranian refugee who lives in the UK now. And I thought she would love to have that. So I have got a plan for how I'm going to finish that. and I want to do that in the next couple of days, but finished on the stitching that, and I really like how that turned out. I have no idea what colours I've used. They're not the ones called for in the pattern. I think the sort of goldy yellow is Classic Colourworks Queen Bee, but the reds and the greens and the brown, I think they were mostly leftovers from a kit, actually. So I don't think I ever even knew what the colours were, even if I wanted to go and look them up. But I think they work really beautifully for this pomegranate design. So that's really lovely. Zanzandegi Azadi, Women Life Freedom. And the link to that will be below. If you want to do the full version, you can. Or like me, you can work out your own abbreviated version of that. Nice quick stitch. Really enjoyed that. Okay, then we've got Tulips and Stars. You've seen this many times before. We are now almost at the end of week 6, and I've slightly gone off pieced. So this is what it looks like now. So technically, the way I had divided it up, this section with the tulip and the octagon filled in was supposed to be week 5, and this section was supposed to be week 6, and this section was supposed to be week 7. What I'm going to do, and it's not the end of week 6 yet, I'm going to, by the end of week 6, I'm going to do this octagon and this tulip. So I will have done all the octagon outlines and all the tulips with stems. And then week 7, I'm just going to fill in those octagons. So it's sort of colour completing. Like I've done all of the dark green now. I've done all of this red now. The next thing I'll finish will be all of that pale green and then all of the other tulip colour. And then I'll go back in and do the insides next week. So I think that'll be fine. And then week 8 is the rest of the alphabet at the bottom, which I'll probably do some during the week, but mostly I'm saving that for April 23rd, when Yasmin is actually running the marathon. Remember, this was one of Yasmin's charity charts. It's not too late to donate. She has now amazingly reached her £2,500 target that she was raising for MenCap, who she is running the London Marathon in aid of. But you can nonetheless still donate and still receive one of her charity charts. There's this one, but there's several others. And it's not too late to join in the Yas Marathon Sal. My goal, as I say, is to finish it as she is finishing the actual marathon. There are one or two others who I know might be aiming for a similar finish, but others who are doing it in their own time, in their own way, and that's absolutely fine as well. But do support Yasmin if you haven't already. You can donate on her Just Giving page, and she'll send you the chart of your choice. And you can join us in stitching along. You could maybe start on Marathon Day, for example. That's April 23rd while she's running. So that's coming along well. I'll be glad to have it finished. I don't absolutely love, I've realised once again, I don't love having lots of works in progress. I just don't. So, yeah, having to kind of slow myself down and say, okay, put that aside now, do something else. It's not really my favourite. One of the things that I've been doing alongside that is my Jack Rabbit, aka March Hare, aka Best Bunnies Sal. This is the Jack Rabbit from Cottage Garden Samplings, Vinnie PS Tan. You'll see I'm doing this in my own colourway. The original is in sort of steely bluey greys, and this is in pinky browns with a little bit of orange. And I think since the last time I saw you, I've done all of this sort of pink and brown geometric section. So it's not far off. I'm not doing the background. So I've got to do this section here and the rest of the back legs, and then there's a little tail. I think by the next time I see you, that should be finished. My goal was to finish it by the end of April. I think it should be well done before that. That would be nice. Be nice if I finish this in time to do a little small that will be an extra Stitch Your Stash. So this is my Stitch Your Stash project for March, really. But obviously I didn't get anywhere near finished in March. So it would be quite nice. I'd quite like to have a Stitch Your Stash project every month. So I'd like to finish this in time, and it'll probably just be a little small one. Do another one before the end of April. Stitch Your Stash, Stitch Your Stash 2023. It's also a hashtag. I'll put that on the screen. What I am doing with that, but lots of people are doing it in their own way, and that's absolutely fine. All I'm doing, it's not about no buy. It's not about no new starts. It is just about saying, I want to stitch some of the things that I've already bought that I already own and love. I don't always need a new shiny thing for a new start. So every month I'm trying to just pick one pattern out of my stash, something that I've owned before 2023, and stitch them. That's it. And I'm trying to do one a month. That obviously limits the size of the things that I've got, but I've got quite a lot of smalls in my stash that I just like to stitch because they're small and they're sweet and I love them. Good, so that's Jack Rabbit. I'm doing that, as I said, all in my own colours. Mine are all classic Colourworks. Yeah, if anyone's interested in knowing what colours they are, let me know and I'll tell you. But I think it's turning out really nicely in those warm tones. I think if you were doing the whole set of 12, which I am not, then you probably want to stick more closely to their colours because they clearly have designed the whole 12 as a set. Then last time I think I told you I was going to start on this, and I have. This is Rejoice. It's going to say, rejoice always, pray continually, in everything give thanks, something. And then it has a wreath around it of flowers and berries and so on. And this is one of two that I'm doing for my friends who are getting married next month. It's 40 counts, Vigart Silver Grey. I'm quite enjoying it. I like the lettering. I'd like to get the lettering done first and then stitch around it. I've got loads of this, but I think it will fit pretty easily, one on this side and one on this side. And then there'll be hoop finishes. The wreath is not that big. I measured it. There should be plenty of border here. And if not, we'll panic. But I think we should be fine. It is quite small and it's quite fiddly, but I like how it looks. So I got two of those. The other one says, cast your burdens onto him, and they are from Lifted Up Spirit, something like that, on Etsy. I will put the link. And I'm stitching that in, this is Wavy Navy. I think this is Gentle Arts Green with Envy. And then I've got 3 or 4 blues and 3 or 4 greens and a yellow that will go in there. I will try and remember to put in a picture of what that looks like when it's finished, so you've got an idea what I'm working towards. So that's everything I've been stitching on. This one, need to do a fully finish on. This one, aiming for a finish. This one, let's try and work out 2 weeks. I won't, if I'm filming in 2 weeks today, I won't quite have finished this. I'll be ready for the final flurry on marathon day, the next day. In 2 weeks, perhaps I won't quite have finished this, but I need to have made pretty significant progress because I do need to do the other one before they get married at the end of May. So that's all my stitching, and my plans are in the next few weeks, finish that, fully finish that, work on that, maybe do, or maybe just about be ready to do another little Stitch Your Stash Small. I have got one other plan in the next 2 weeks. I'll tell you about that in a moment. So 2 very exciting things came in the post today. This one, pretty sure this is still available. This is from Kate Blandford on Etsy, and it's her Bloom Booty Box. Bloom Booty Box, and you can find her on Etsy. I will put the link below. And this was just a little treat to myself. So let me show you what's in. I have opened it just to sort of minimize time and crunkling. So this is what you see on the top. Let's hold it this way up. Fresh as a freaking daisy. I quite like that. I knew it was going to be a spring theme chart and a sort of floral theme chart, but also I've looked at Kate's patterns. I wasn't expecting prim, and it's not. I'm glad it's not too sweary. I would definitely stitch that. Freaking, it's not a word I use a lot, not because I don't like it, but it's just not quite my terminology. So I might just think about whether I want to change that to say something I'm more likely to actually say. But anyway, but I think that's quite fun, and I don't think that'll be at all slow. Yeah, I don't think it's going to take a long time to stitch, and I think it's quite a fun, springy kind of piece that's not super traditional, super prim, super pastel. So that's what we got. Then we got with that 4 full skeins of DMC, 3 yellows and a black, which obviously you can use to stitch the chart that came with you, but there's going to be loads and loads and loads extra. So that's nice, and particularly it's always nice to have extra black because you often find yourself needing that. There's a pack of pony back needles, which I've not used before, size 24, 26. I don't often use a 24, but I do sometimes, and I definitely use 26 quite a lot. So it's nice to have a whole pack of that, because that's obviously more that, you know, this is not just a kit to stitch that one pattern. This is a box full of goodies. So 6 needles, more than you need to stitch that small. Then, what else? I haven't opened this and I'm not going to. A little packet of biodegradable flower sequins. I don't know if you can just about see there through the packet. They're flower shaped sequins. I think they're in a sort of cream or pale yellow. I can't quite see it, and I don't want to open the packet because I will lose them. So there are places you can put those on the chart, but obviously again there's loads in there extra. Then there were 2 of these little yellow and white striped bags, one of which has, definitely my day for knocking the camera over. So there's this, which is actually 2 things. So this is a little needle threader. Now, I generally don't have trouble threading my embroidery needles, but if you do, there's a little needle threader, and it's got a little finer point on this end. You see that? And it's got this lovely little flower acrylic charm. And that was attached to needle minder. I love this needle minder. I think you can see that is proper glittery. So Kate makes these. I believe she makes them. I'm not going to say that because I'm not sure that's true. But anyway, she definitely makes them. I don't know how she makes them. Near diamond, super strong magnet. Keep away from pets. That's you. Keep away from pets. Yeah, I really like that. I think it's super, super pretty. And it's just quite different from anything else I've got. And although it's glittery, it's got a smooth top to it. So that glitter is not going anywhere. So I really like that. And again, obviously, you can use it on this project, but you don't have to. You can use it on anything like that. And then in here, again, something you could use on this project, but don't have to. So, floss ring. Set of floss drops. Now, let me hold these up. Hopefully you can see. Golden glittery, matches the, I think it matches the needle minder. Super cute. I love these flowery ones. Sort of white, cloudy, translucent. Yellow, this is like the one on the needle minder. Grey. Clear but sparkly. So there's 5 of those. There's actually more than you need for the project, and the ring to hold them together. Then, and there's still more, this is my very favourite thing in the box. Get a little pair of flowery scissors. And I know this was the thing that Kate was waiting for. She's like, I want to launch these, I want to launch these. But the scissors that I've ordered are stuck in customs somewhere. But aren't they adorable? They're Kelmscott scissors. They're short, they're sharp, and they're super, super sweet. Always happy to have a new little pair of scissors, and especially scissors like that. And I was a bit nervous about this because I was like, oh, is it all going to be black and white and grey? And I'm not really well known for being a black and white and grey person. But actually, I really love the yellow. I love the floweriness. There's enough in here that I just think is delightful, that the black with it is fine. And then this is printed Ada. So So this is the back side, which actually I quite like, and this is the front side. It comes with instructions. Washing it is not recommended, and then there's instructions about how you would do it by hand, wiping rather than soaking, and so on, if you felt you needed to. Again, more than enough to do the little chart provided. So for this chart, oh, I don't know why I keep showing the chart. There isn't a picture of it. Oh, here we go. I will blur it out and you can just look at this bit here. Okay, so for this chart, you've got all the thread, you've got the needle, you've got the scissors, you've got the fabric, you've got the sequins, you've got the floss drops, you've got the needle minder. You literally have everything that you could possibly need and more. It would make a really great gift actually for a new stitcher, because it's literally got everything, you know, like I say, down to the scissors, down to the needles, all the thread, all the fabric, the floss drops, the needle minder, literally everything. Needle threader, gorgeous needle minder. I'm sorry I keep dropping everything today, and I'm sorry I keep knocking the camera over. I will try and edit most of those out. Anyway, so it's literally got everything, and it's beautifully packaged in a nice box. I think that's really good value actually, and like I say, lovely gift for yourself, me, lovely gift for a friend who is a stitcher, but I think actually a really great gift for a new stitcher. It's 14 count Ada, they're all whole stitches. You don't get, I think, instructions for how to do crosses. Yeah, so you would need to kind of Google, if you literally had never done a cross stitch before in your life, you'd need to Google how to do a cross stitch. But you could definitely start with that, and it would be a very, very achievable first project. Comes in one of these little boxes that's designed to go through your letterbox. So that was nice post. Now, this is the really exciting post that I have not opened at all, and I'm going to open on camera. I knew it was coming because obviously I had ordered it, and I ordered digital charts because I much prefer stitching from a PDF. So I got the digital charts a couple of days ago in my email. I'm not showing you those because it is only the chart, but I will put a picture here of the finished product. This is a Gecko Rouge kit. It's the first time I've ordered a Gecko Rouge kit. It's the first time I've ordered a full coverage anything. I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I'm also quite excited. So this is what came in the post. Obviously it came in a plastic packaging bag. I mean, it just looks like sort of luxury chocolates or luxury lingerie or luxuries. I mean, it just looks like luxury, doesn't it? Beautifully, beautifully packaged in this box with the beautiful ribbon. It's got stickers, Gecko Rouge stickers front and back, and we're going to open it. What I tell you, what really reminds me of is like boxes in a movie. When they open presents, they always have ribbon just over the top part, whereas when I wrap presents, and certainly most people I know wrap presents, you put the ribbon around the whole thing and you can't just lift the lid off. But here we can just lift the lid off, and this is what it looks like inside, with that little gecko charm and the red tissue paper because it's Gecko Rouge. Beautifully, beautifully packaged. Okay, let's keep going. I don't know how to get this. Oh, look, there is a picture here. I don't know how to get sick of these old tissue paper without ripping. I'm going to make sure I save the gecko charm. So, having just opened the tissue paper, first thing we get is a beautiful colour picture of your chart. So mine is called Paxton's Tower Cottage. I really love it. I particularly love the pink sky background. I love the sheep. I love the sort of swirling nature of it. Yeah, I think it's really, really gorgeous. So the artist is called Dorian Spencer Davis. Paxton's Town Cottage, if you don't, yeah, I'm not going to tell you all of that. Mine has got 88 DMC colours. Stitches, 326 by 220. Best not to think about that. So that's just the picture, blank on the back. Okay, what do we get next? This is instructions, and this tells you fabric choices. Oh, that's quite fun. Fabric choices to scale. So when you pick the kit, you pick your fabric, and it'll give you an idea if you're on 14 count compared to if you're on 18, 25, 28. I think I ordered 18 count Ada, but we'll find out. I think that's what I ordered, but I could be wrong. Instructions for cross stitch, some frequently asked questions. You can order, if you bought a paper chart, you can order a digital backup PDF separately for not very much. You can't order I don't think you can just order the PDF on its own. I could be wrong about that. I think you order the kit, and you either order the PDF chart or the digital chart or both as part of the kit. I think that's right. I could be wrong. Okay, then we've got colours, numbers, symbols printed, 2 pages worth. Goodness me, right, here we come to the business end. Thread. And I believe with Gecko Rouge, and I think some other full coverage companies do this as well, they do use DMC thread, but they don't give you, yeah, here we are, pre-sorted DMC cotton threads. Yeah, here we go, 18 count, 2/1. So they are DMC threads, but they don't tell you the numbers. If you run out, which I don't think people generally do, but if you run out, I think you can contact them and they will send you extra of the particular thing. So in here we go. These are all being held together. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these cards with the colours in them. And they are numbered and symboled on here. So that was the first set. This is the second set, more of the reds and the greens. A bit of brown coming in that one. I love the pinks and the purples on this. More gorgeous pinks on this one. And some blues. I just think the colours on this are so beautiful. More gorgeous pinks on this one. This is what's slightly alarming, is how much confetti it feels like there's going to be. Some of the paler blues on this one, paler greens. And then finally, some of the darkest colours is not, yeah, there isn't any black. Those are dark greys. Those are beautiful just on their own, aren't they? Actually, I love these pinks and turquoises and yellows together. Now, those 5 cards, they come, you can see here, there's a red ribbon, and you could just undo that ribbon. I'm not going to do it now, but you undo that bow, and then you can separate all the cards out, and then you've got them all, so you can just pick whichever one you're working on at the time. I need to have a think about thread organisation for this. I like the cards. I don't know how sturdy they're going to be and how much they're going to stay on there, but they might work fine. We'll see. I definitely don't want to get them off the cards and lose the numbers and the symbols, because I think you'd never work that out. Also, I think these are not cut into stitching lengths. You can see they've got loops at the end, so you can't just take a strand off as they come. You need to prepare your threads ready to stitch. So yeah, so I think that's going to need a little bit of work. I'm slightly daunted by how many colours there are, but I'm also, and just, you know, what a big chunk that is, I'm also really in love with the colours that I've chosen for the design I've chosen. I think it's going to be stunning. So you get that, and then finally there is the thread, and like I say, mine is 18 count Ada. And it's white and it's not gridded. You can grid it. I think if you buy the even weave, it comes gridded in 25 or 28 count. The Ada does not. Now, here is the thing that I'm thinking about. Just give me a minute. I need to go and get something. don't know if this is big enough. I think it might be. This is also 18 count Ada. This is a fat quarter. Fat quarter called Razzmatazz from what is now called Roxy Flosco, although it's got a Leo and Roxy label on it. Let's just compare. Yeah, I think it may not be big enough, which may just make the distance. Oh, it's not far off, is it? It's like an inch at the bottom and 3 or 4 inches at the side. I might be able to make it work, you know. And if I did that, whether I would get away with not stitching all of this sky. But I don't know. It might look weird. Because I would... I think I might end up, if I use this, not stitching any of the sky. And you see where it's got a little bit at the bottom, so you hardly would need to worry about any of the length, but if necessary I could take a little bit off the length. I'd lose some from the side, and I would almost certainly lose it on this side, I think. Maybe a little bit on this side, but mostly I would lose it on this side. And maybe that would work. Let's just have a little, if we had about like there. Not sure, maybe it's a bit unbalanced. Yeah, so anyway, I think the other thing I need to then do is work out, so it's 326, there we go, 18 count, 18.11 by 12.22. So let's have a look. Haven't got a thing here. Is that more than 18.11? It might be. It might be. That's definitely enough, 12.2. That might be enough. I'll need to measure it, and I haven't got a tape measure just here. But if that's 20 inches, I know it wouldn't be a huge margin, but that's fine. I don't mind not having a huge margin. Then I might do it. If it's 21, I would definitely do it. If it's 20, I might. And I just think for my first full coverage, actually, I might quite enjoy not having to do the sky. And then obviously I would do the hill and the tower and the trees. And then I could just see, I could do like half cross over the sky if I wanted to in places to change up some of the colour. I feel like that might be a win-win. Anyway, so that is my birthday project. So my birthday is not today, my birthday is next Sunday. And my birthday next year will be my 50th birthday. And so this is what I'm calling my Stitch 50 project. And the goal is to stitch it in the next 2 years. So I'm not that crazy. I'm not going to try and do it in a year. But while I am still 50, I would really like to finish that. So that is my Stitch 50 project. If you are also 50 or turning 50 shortly, do feel free to join in on that hashtag Stitch 50. You can interpret that any way you like. You could have a project that you stitch 50 stitches on every day. You could have a thing you think, I'm going to do 50 different stitches of robins or dogs or hearts or whatever. You could have a project like mine that you say, I'm going to do this while I'm 50 or before I'm 50, while I'm still 50. So if you want to use that Stitch 50 hashtag, feel free to join me, and do leave a comment if you're doing that and tell me what you are going to be doing as your Stitch 50 project. I know I've seen a number of Flosstubers recently talk about the project that they're doing for their 60th birthday. I mean, I really hope I'm not still doing this for my 60th birthday. But I am hoping, it doesn't need to be done by my 50th birthday, but I'd like it to be done while I am still 50. It is an investment. Any full coverage kit is going to be an investment. I think it's definitely worth paying for them to have kitted that up for me. I feel like they've done all the colour sorting with the symbols and the charts. I know that there's enough. I know that I've got everything that I need within that, and you know, it's ready to start whenever I'm ready to start, and feels worth it to me. It was a treat. I don't buy projects like that all the time. Like I said, it's my only full coverage piece, and I don't plan to be getting more or starting more anytime soon. I guess the only other stitching news that there is for the moment is just my Saviour's Praise project. I have taken that off the frame for the moment. It was making progress, but very slowly. And where it was on a floor stand. My house is very small, and I've had to do in the last week. Charlie was quite a surprise. It's all, yeah, I mean, like this time last week, I barely had the idea of getting a dog in my head. I mean, I had begun to think about it, but it's basically a week from beginning to think about it to suddenly the exact right dog appeared and is now living with me. So I've had to move quite a lot of things. It's been good for me. I've done a lot of decluttering in a lot of parts of the house. I've made a nice space where his bed is, and he's very happy with that. But I also needed to make a clear path to the garden door, which involved cutting down a lot of very, very spiky rose bush outside it, and inside it meant taking down this floor stand. And there isn't anywhere else really sensible to keep it up. So I'm going to have a rethink. I might stitch it in hand again. I like stitching in hand. I might just do that. Yeah, or I might look into some other kind of thing, or I might just put it on hold for the moment, because progress was very small and slow anyway. And I guess my long-term project is going to be the Gecko Rouge Paxton's Tower and Cottage. So that I think may just be in a sort of dormant stage at the moment. It's not, I'm not giving up on it. I definitely still want to do it, but it's not in progress at this stage. It's just dormant is what I'm going to call that. Good. So I think that is all the stitching I've done and all the treats that I have had. Birthday treats. Let's call them all birthday treats. That's fine, isn't it? So yeah, so I did just want to talk a little bit about racism in the cross-stitch community. So I started watching Flosstube 2.5 years ago, something like that, sort of around the time during the pandemic when everyone was suddenly producing Flosstubes and everyone was watching them. And at the time I was doing a little bit of cross-stitch, but not loads. It was before I had the hand problem, so I was still doing a lot of knitting and crochet. But you need something to watch while you're doing knitting and crochet, and I started watching Flosstube. And one of the first things that struck me, and I just thought it was a bit odd, and I remember tweeting about this. I was on Twitter then a lot more than I am now, and I just said, is it me, or is the cross-stitch community quite racist? And somebody tweeted about it, was like, no, it's not just you. And I'm like, okay, good. So I'm not American, I'm English, but it was around the time, I guess, quite soon after the George Floyd murder, when, you know, we were all very aware of racism in America, and racism here too, and racism all over the world, and so on. It's not just an American thing, but we were all very aware of it in America at that point because of the George Floyd murder. And I'm not American, as I say, but I spent a couple of years living in America 15 years ago or so now. And I remember even then being very conscious of racism that manifested itself in quite a different way from racism in the UK. It's not that we don't have racism issues. I promise you we really, really do. But they are different issues from the ones in America. Although we do have a history with the slave trade, mostly it didn't involve slaves who lived here. And so the ongoing impact on society here is much more subtle. What we do have is a relatively recent, within the last 2 to 3 generations, influx of immigration. And we have a long history of colonialism associated with that, and all sorts of issues around that, and racism in our police force too, and all of those things. But I was very conscious of it when I was in America, that it just felt very different from here in the UK. And one of the things I remember noticing in America is much more common than here for people to have flags around the houses, and people might have a Valentine's flag or a St. Patrick's Day flag. Often they would have a Stars and Stripes flag, and sometimes they'd have this other flag, and I'd be like, I don't recognise that, I don't know what that flag is. And so I asked someone, and they explained it to me, and he said, well, it's the Confederate flag. And I'm like, okay, and the Confederate flag is, and she's like, well, it's associated with the Confederate Army. I later discovered, I think, it's actually a relatively recent innovation that's mostly taken on popularity in the sort of 1950s and 60s to do with the civil rights movement, not really to do with the Civil War itself. But anyway, Confederate flag. And I'm like, okay, why would you have that up? And I mean, basically the answer is the only reason you'd have that up is racism, actually, to say that you think the Confederacy was right when they literally gathered an army and fought a war in order to try and keep people enslaved. Why would you put up a flag celebrating those who tried to keep people enslaved? Why would you put up a flag that basically says, I think slavery was a good thing? I literally can't think of a good reason to do that. The only reason to do that is because you don't care about Black people today. You don't care about people today whose family were enslaved. You don't care about people who fought to keep your family enslaved. You don't care that there were those people who are triggered today by the idea that other people fought to keep their family enslaved. You don't think Black people are people, or that they don't count, or that they shouldn't be allowed, or they should still be repressed. Maybe you think there should still be civil rights era segregation, that Black people shouldn't be allowed on the same bus as white people, or using the same toilets, or getting the same jobs, or being treated with the same kind of respect. There are no good associations with the Confederate flag, the Confederate Army, the Confederate States that I am aware of. None. So what has that got to do with cross-stitch? Well, and this is the thing, people kept talking about, floss, or this is Confederate grey floss, or this is Confederate grey fabric. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Maybe there is some benign meaning of this that I don't know, but the more searching and asking I did, there really isn't. That is the association of the word Confederate. It is to do with the Confederate States, the Confederate Army, the Confederate flag, all of which signal a war on Black people. The idea that Black people should be enslaved, that they should be oppressed, that they should not be given freedom and rights and respect. And if you're using a word like that to describe your floss or your fabric, your cross-stitch materials, it seems to me what you're saying is Black people don't cross-stitch, or maybe Black people do cross-stitch, but they should sit down and shut up and be glad to have a space at the table with the white ladies. Or you're saying Black people might cross-stitch, but actually they ought to know their place. They ought to know that actually they are no better than their enslaved ancestors, no better than their racially segregated family members. Why would you do that? Why should not everybody, literally everybody, be able to enjoy their cross-stitch hobby without being reminded that there are people who hate them, hate their family, hate their ancestors? The nearest equivalent that I can think of here in Europe would be if we had a fabric that was called Nazi gold, or a floss that was called Holocaust grey. You just wouldn't. You just wouldn't. Even if you thought, that describes exactly the colour that I want, you would not call it that. Because if you called it that, you are saying, I don't think that Jewish people should be cross-stitching. Or if they are, I don't think their feelings matter. Or I don't think they matter as people. Or actually, it's a shame that Hitler didn't do a better job. I mean, you just wouldn't. It would be outrageous. And of course, if you're a Jewish person who cross-stitch, there's no way you would be picking up cross-stitch fabric called Holocaust grey. So why would we think it's okay for Black people, whether they're in America, whether they're in the UK, whether they're in Africa, to think it was okay to pick up and use a fabric called Confederate grey? You just wouldn't, because it isn't okay. And here's the thing. I was quite encouraged after I'd been watching Flosstube for a few months to find people saying, oh, and actually they've changed the name of the fabric. Great. It's just called grey. Great. There is nothing offensive about the word grey. It's not a particularly accurate description of that colour, I don't think, but it's grey, it's fine. 2 years on, more than 2 years on, I was really horrified to discover this week pattern designers are still calling for fabric by the old offensive racist name. Don't do that. If you're a designer, just stop. Just stop doing that. Stop doing it because A, it is offensive and racist. So, stop. Make it look like you at least pretend that it's okay for black people to stitch your designs. But B, it looks really unprofessional and out of date because that is not what the fabric has been called for more than 2 years. So, that makes you look unprofessional. Keep up to date with it. And 3, don't use that. Don't call for that in your charts because it gives needle workshops, local needle workshops, online needle workshops, an excuse for them to keep using the offensive racist name. That's what I've heard a lot this week from local needle workshops. Is, but it's so confusing for our customers. They've all got patterns that call for this old name. And so what on earth can I do? I'm like, well, you could tell them. But also designers, just stop using that. Sometimes people will have an old chart and will have the old name and they'll go to their needle workshop and they'll say, I don't really know where to find this. I can't find this anywhere. And their needle shop will just say to them, oh, it's not called that anymore. You need to know the new name is just grey. We've got it. Here it is. Designers, you need to make a difference. You need to stop right now using an years out of date name that is offensive and racist. Just stop now. If you want to go one step further, designers, if you're like, no, I'm really serious about this, I don't just want to be non-racist, I want to be anti-racist, you could say to needle workshops, I've noticed you're still using that offensive racist name for the fabric and the floss. If you don't stop, I won't be selling any more charts through your shop. If you've got time, you can sort it out. I'm not, withdrawing the ones that you've already got there. But just so you know, we won't be doing business with you until you've sorted that out in the future. So maybe that's whatever it is that's not Expo this summer. If you haven't sorted it out by then I won't be doing business with you, just so you know. You could exert pressure on local needle workshops and online needle workshops in a positive direction rather than by continuing to use old names yourselves, exerting pressure in a negative direction. What do you do if you're a shop owner? Local needle workshop, online needle workshop? Well, you can stop using the old names. That's your first thing. I'm not just talking about Weeks Dye Works. There's Weeks Dye Works Floss, Weeks Dye Works Fabric. Also, I see a lot of needle workshops using that name for Zweigart fabric. And again, I think that is an old name that Zweigart used to use, but I checked and confirmed with them this week that is not what their fabric is called. Their fabric is called Mystic Grey. Mystic Grey. And all their fabric, it's a bit like DMC, comes with numbers. So, do you know what? If you've got a customer who, again, is calling for the Zweigart old offensive racist name, you can just say to them, oh yeah, that was this number. That number's got a new name. It's the same colour. It's now called Mystic Grey and we have that in stock. Easy. Explain to them. If you want to put a note on your website, absolutely fine. If you want to put a note by the product name on your website, formerly known as, fine. I mean, don't do it forever, but you could do that as a transition thing. Help educate your customers when they come to you and say, this is what I'm looking for by old offensive racist name. You say, oh yeah, actually it hasn't been called that for a while now. Several years. Hasn't been called that for a while now. This is the new name of that fabric and this is what you need to look for. We stock it here and here and here in this count. Go for your beads. So help educate your customers. Put a note on your website if you need to. Help them in the shop. But here's the other thing you could do again. If you want to be not just non-racist but anti-racist, you could check designers who are still calling for the old offensive racist name in their charts. You could say to them, by the way, I've noticed you're still using this old name. It's more than 2 years out of date. Please change it. Please stop confusing our customers. Please stop being offensive and racist, but you don't even have to say that. You say, please stop confusing our customers. This isn't what it's called. This isn't what it's been called for years. If you don't start using the new up-to-date name, then we won't be able to stock your charts anymore because it's too confusing. Exert your pressure in a positive way. Exert your pressure on customers by educating them. Exert your pressure on designers by pointing out their unprofessional, old, out-of-date names that they are using. What can you do if you're a stitcher? Well, you can stop using the old, offensive, racist names. If you are a Flosstuber, if you're on social media, make sure you're not using their names there. I still hear people talking about it. Just stop. Stop using the old, offensive and racist names. What else can you do? Well, if you hear other people using them, you can just point out to them, by the way, that name isn't used anymore. The fabric is called this. The floss is called that. It would be really helpful if you just stopped using that old name, because it's actually quite confusing. If people are looking for the product, this is what you need to call it, so that they can find it. This is what shops are changing their name to. This is what designers are starting to call it. Please make sure you don't confuse people by calling it the wrong name. If it's somebody you know a bit better, you could just point out, it's not only old, it's also offensive and racist. Please stop doing that. Not everybody thinks that they should, but actually, it doesn't have to be a judgment call at this point. It's not, oh, I'm offended, you're offended. That's just not what it's called. It's not called by the old offensive racist name anymore. So don't use them. So I think as an industry, there's no reason why we can't just put a stop to this. If you're a designer, you can just stop. If you're a needle workshop owner, you can just stop. If you're a stitcher, you can just stop. I would love it if the whole needlework industry in the next couple of months just disappeared, because there's no reason for it to be there unless you've got a year's old chart and you're looking for the fabric and you haven't heard that it's changed. There is no reason to be using that. And while you're doing that, you might want to think about who you think belongs in the cross-stitch world. Because I promise you, it's not just nice white ladies. Nice. I tell you what's not nice. Being racist. Being offensive. It's not nice. It's not just nice white ladies. It's, several of the designers that I follow and really enjoy are Middle Eastern, Iranian and European. Obviously lots of UK designers from various ethnic backgrounds. Black ladies, brown ladies, people of all backgrounds and ethnicities and colours and ages, and not just women. Obviously, I mostly do follow women, but, there's no reason why this isn't a hobby for everyone. We need to make it a hobby that welcomes everyone. People of every religion, people of every ethnicity, people of every colour, people of every language. There's no reason why this needs to be an exclusive hobby. So just don't think about what you're offended by. Think about what is preventing other people feeling like they are welcome in what we are so often told is the kindest, nicest, most welcoming community. And I just want to tell you, it's not always like that. It's not always the nicest, kindest, most welcoming community, particularly when it's being racist. So anyway, that's my rant for this week. Do stop and leave a comment. Somebody else, when I was commenting on all this stuff on Instagram, pointed out there are other terms that are not great, Aztec red or Indian summer. I don't know, leave a comment and tell me if you found something that you thought you were quite shocked by or thought seemed racist or offensive or discriminatory in some way in the cross-stitch world. I would really love to know, because I just don't think there's any need for it at all. Let's be kind, let's be nice, let's be welcoming, and let's do that by actually recognizing that people are not all like us, and people like us, people not like us, are also people too, and let's welcome them. Anyway, that's this week's rant. I will be back in 2 weeks, hopefully less ranty, more stitchy, more finishy. I might even have started my full coverage Stitch 50 birthday project, or I might be a bit intimidated by it. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Do leave a comment and let me know what you think.